If you're thinking about driving Uber and Lyft, or maybe started but are unsure of a couple of things, I'm going to go over a list of 10 different things that I wish I knew before starting to drive for Uber and Lyft. Hey everyone, my name is Chris and welcome to the RideShare Guy. And that's right, we're going to go over a list of the things that I wish that I knew before starting rideshare, but I had learned along the way. So I'm going to share it with you guys so you can start off on the right foot if you're just getting started, if you're thinking about it, or if you've been driving for a little bit, but didn't realize that, some of these things you can't do, whatever it might be, depending on the overall aspect of it. So one of the things is, it's going to be probably a little bit more than 10 things, but we're just going to go with that number. So let's get right into the first thing, and that is how many miles you will actually drive when driving Uber and Lyft. Rideshare puts a lot of miles on your car, and I actually wish that I knew how much it really put on before starting to drive for it, so I had a better understanding, especially figuring out the costs associated with driving, because that's something that most drivers do not actually do. So that is something that I wish I knew right off the get-go. And if you're driving, especially full-time, you are going to put a ton of miles on your car. Full-time drivers could be looking at something like 5,000 to 7,000 miles every single month on your car. So just take that into account when you are driving. If you're driving part-time, maybe 20 hours, you could half that. Or if you are driving, on the weekend or, one night just to pay some bills or whatever it might be, obviously it's going to be a lot less. But it's just going to be dependent on how much you're driving, where you're driving. So if you're driving also in suburbia or in rural areas, you're going to be driving a lot more because you have to drive a lot more to the pickups. Things are spread more apart versus in the city where it might be just a couple miles at most. And then the second thing, which I already hinted at, was figuring out the costs of your car. Now, it costs money to drive your car. There's depreciation, there's maintenance. So you have tires, you have different parts within your car that can break easily. Some are wear and tear. Some can be very substantial, like a transmission replacement or, a ball joint or whatever it may actually be when it comes to repairing your car. So you have to take into account that. Also, just gas, maintenance, regular oil changes, cabin air filters, those types of things all will have to be replaced much, much more than if you were not driving for Uber and Lyft. So take into account what your costs are, and you need to figure out for your specific vehicle as well as your driving habits, because that's going to give you a much better advantage to know what rides are coming in that are going to be profitable versus what rides aren't going to be. And then that means costing you money in the long run. The third thing that I'm going to be talking about is not having to accept every single ride. Every single ride offer that comes in, you don't have to accept it. When I first started, I'm like, ride offer. I got to take it. But the reality is you don't have to take it. And as I said in number 2, knowing the costs of your car, well, you got to operate this as a business. And if you are not, you could be not in any profit and you could be actually losing money and not even realizing it because it's going to depend on the costs associated with your vehicle. So with that being said, don't accept every single ride. It doesn't matter. If they're not profitable for you based on your costs, then do not take it. If it's profitable and you want to take that ride or whatever may be coming for your requirements to accept the ride, make sure you do that. But yes, you do not have to accept every single ride coming from Uber or Lyft. All right, the next thing that you should be knowing about is taxes, is also miles driven and expenses. Anything that's associated with the costs of running a business besides your car costs, this is something that you need to be accounting for. You need to account for the miles that you're driving because they could become a tax write-off at the end of the year. I'm not a CPA. Talk to your CPA if you want more information on the deductions that you could potentially get when it comes to driving Uber and Lyft, because you are an independent contractor, so you can fall under a business owner. So when it comes to miles, when it comes to taxes, when it comes to expenses, you got to make sure you can track all of that stuff. Now, one of the things that can do that very well and help you out is the Solo app. Something here at the RideShare Guy that we like to talk about is the Solo app, because it's able to do all of that. It can track your expenses, it can track your miles, and it can track what you could potentially need to pay at tax time. So that way you are managing your business through the Solo app versus you maybe not necessarily knowing what your expenses are, maybe not necessarily knowing how many miles you are actually driving when on the Uber and Lyft apps, or tracking your taxes when tax time comes due. So check out the Solo app. I'll leave a link in the description below. Now, something else that the Solo app can do that is going to be good is managing your time. It's going to help you understand where it's going to be busy in your city, where it's going to be expecting the best rides, what other drivers are getting in your area. So you can compare and see what is going on. Are you driving well? Are you making a profit? Are you, putting away money for your taxes? So Solo is just more than managing your business, but it also helps you understand some of the nuances behind driving Uber and Lyft, when it's going to be busy, so you can plan and position yourself the best when it comes to getting out there and maximizing the amount of money that you could potentially make. Now, another thing that you should really be paying attention to is, unfortunately, ratings. Now, ratings overall aren't necessarily bad, but if you're continually getting bad ratings overall, there's probably a reason for that, and it's going to be you. So you got to figure out what is going on. Why am I getting bad ratings? Am I keeping my car clean? Am I friendly? Am I providing good customer service? Whatever it might be. So yeah, that is something that you need to understand. But if it's a 1-star rating that's just there, or a 2-star rating, unfortunately, sometimes people just rate poor because they're assholes. Let's be real. So the reality is, a couple of bad ratings, don't sweat it. It's not going to be a problem. You don't have to maintain a 5.0 star rating. You can have a little bit lower. But like I say, if you notice something where it's starting to drop and you're getting consistently lower ratings, then it's something where you have to reflect and see what is going on, because it could potentially impact you down the road if you get too low compared to your city's average. All right, and then another thing is understanding surge pricing and how it works. Surge pricing is great because it's dynamic, and it's there when there's more demand for rides than there are supply of drivers. So when there is an imbalance in the marketplace, that means surge will happen. And that's great for us because that means we're able to make more money doing the same exact ride. So you need to pay attention to your market and see where the areas of surge are happening. So open up your app continuously, depending on your market, and just keep track. Check every hour, every half hour, whatever it might be, whether you're on the app or not. Just open it up, check the surge, and compare it to, over the next couple of weeks, and see what surge areas are consistent at the proper times. So that way, again, you can position yourself to maximize the amount of income that you could potentially make by putting yourself in the middle of that surge zone if you can predict it. Now, there's going to be a lot of unpredictable surge zones, but the big thing is don't chase after surge, because if you see surge near your area and you start driving to that, unfortunately, you're going to be matching with several other drivers who are doing the exact same thing. So all of a sudden, it's like chasing the dragon. You're not really going to get it. And you're going to continually get closer and closer, and then you're going to see the surge map just disappear as you're getting closer to it. And then maybe where you were, surge is starting to happen. So it is dynamic. It is updating all of the time. And it's definitely something that you need to watch out for, so you can position and plan much better to maximize that amount of income. Which leads me to the next thing, and that is knowing the best times to drive. And as I mentioned before, when it comes to the Solo app that can help you out there, knowing the best times to drive is definitely going to be key when you're planning and positioning, and you can use that when it comes to surge. So if you are definitely full-time, part-time, or more, then this is going to be more key for you. But if you are somebody who just goes out on a Friday night just to pay bills, that's that, and that's not going to be having much impact on you. But if you can transition when you are going out, let's say you're going out on an afternoon when it's usually a little bit slower out there, well, if you transition into the evening time or a specific time during the day where it's going to be busier, then you're going to be able to make more money. Now, the next topic is keeping your car clean. Now, this is something that I've always done. I've always kept my car clean, so I've never had that problem. But have you ever gotten in an Uber or a Lyft and there's garbage on the floor, or it's, falling apart, it's a little bit dirty? Well, unfortunately, if that is the case for your car, you are going to get lower ratings. You're probably not going to get tipped as much. You're probably going to have a little bit more irate customers. So keeping your car clean and well maintained is definitely going to go much further when it comes to the possibility of tips, when it comes to the possibility of getting 5-star ratings, and it's just going to be better overall for the experience of the customer and for you driving. A clean, well-maintained car keeps your mind at ease, not something where you see the check engine light come on and you're like, oh crap, what am I going to have to waste my money on at this point? So yeah, those are a couple of things that you need to know. Now, the next thing is we're in the business of customer service. People are getting in and out of our cars constantly. If you are on the road for any amount of time when it comes to a few hours, you're going to be having several customers come in and out of the car, whether it's one per ride or it's maxing out the amount of occupancy that is allowed for your car. My car, I have XL, so I can have up to 6 passengers. So yeah, a lot of people are coming in and out of the car. So being able to handle those customers that are a little problematic is definitely good. One of the things that you need to know is how to deal with unruly passengers. We've made a video recently on how to deal with that, so you can go check that out on the channel. But the reality is, the biggest thing that you need to do is try to de-escalate any situation that you possibly could. Unfortunately, there are some crazies out there, so you got to watch out for that. But when it comes down to it, most of the time you're going to be able to actually de-escalate situations. If they start talking about certain topics like religion or, sex, or it comes down to politics, which is very divisive. Even if you take the opposite stance, the easiest thing to do is just sit there, smile, nod, and not pay real close attention to it. Don't start an argument with the passenger. Just let it go and try to de-escalate any situation that may start arising. So if they're drunk and you're driving drunk hours, trying to understand how to deal with a passenger can be key to having a problem versus having a good ride. And lastly, let's talk about rideshare insurance. There is problems and gaps when it comes to insurance overall. And so having the proper rideshare insurance rider for your vehicle is going to be key, because unfortunately under period 1, which is when you're online waiting for a ride to come in and don't have a ride that you're going to, which is period 2, and then the person in the car, which is period 3, understanding those different periods is going to allow you to understand what is actually happening on your insurance, whether it's your personal insurance, whether it's the rideshare insurance for the company that you're on. But period 1, which means you are online waiting for a ride to come in, but don't have a ride or are not going to pick up somebody, that is a gap in your coverage. So you are online, so your personal insurance is going to say, well, you are using your car to make money, we're not covering anything. And the rideshare insurance is going to say, well, you don't have a rider in the car, and also you weren't on the way to pick them up. So the coverage that you have, well, we're not paying for it. And so now that could stick you with a bill. And your utilization rate is the amount of time that you actually are going to pick up a passenger or have a passenger in the car versus the amount of time that you're online and waiting for a passenger. And that can be up to, 33 to 50% of your time is sitting in period 1. And unfortunately, if you're driving around aimlessly waiting for the next ride to come in instead of parking it somewhere, you could potentially pose a risk to yourself or to your car by not having the proper insurance in place. So having something like a proper gap insurance or a rideshare rider that's going to cover you during the entire time, whether it's period 0, 1, 2, and 3, is definitely something that you're going to want to have in place. All right, I don't know how many that was, but that was a lot of different things when it comes to the few things that I wish I knew when it came to starting to drive for Uber or Lyft. And if you have any questions, make sure you put them in the comments below. Also, make sure to check out Solo because it's going to help manage your business. It's also going to help you give a lot of insights to running your business and maximizing the amount of time that you're on the road so you can earn more and less. Work smarter, not harder. And if you have any other questions, put them in the comments. And with that being said, we'll see you in the next one.